Let's look at some Venn diagrams. Now, if you have a look on the board, guys, this is an example of a Venn diagram. It usually consists of two circles, sometimes maybe even three, but we usually will stick to the ones with two. It's got two circles and it's got a box around it. Now, if you can see, guys, anything that's not within the circles, we'll call that neither of them. So I'm going to actually label this circle be event A, and this circle, the blue one, be event B. So if it doesn't go inside any of those circles, it means neither A or B, nothing. So we put it outside the circles, but still inside the box. Now you can see the circles overlap. So this is the overlapping part, which means this part represents both A and B. It satisfies for A and B, so these are the parts that satisfy both. Now this part is only A. Only A means there's no parts of B in that part. So it's only A, and similarly this is only B. That's pretty much all you really need to know. We'll try some questions so you get the idea. I'm going to start with question 1. They give you a Venn diagram, and it's labelled history and English. And it says a group of students were asked, and basically, I don't know, it doesn't tell us the main context, but maybe it's asking what preferences of subjects they have between history and English. Whatever, it's got history and English. We're talking about two different subjects, and we want to find the number of students of, firstly, all. All means all the students in total, so we have to add up all the values. So if I add all of them up, guys, 5 plus 4 plus 8 plus 3, that will give us 20. So all the students there are is going to be 20. That's the total number of students. Now B is asking for history, the students who do history. Now guys, you can see that this yellow circle is the circle that represents history. So any students that are in that circle would all count. So it would represent 8 and as well as 4. These 4 students, they do English as well, but they also do history, so they're still part of the circle. So we'll add the 8 and the 4, which gives us 12. So those are the students who do history. Now, English. English would now be represented by this blue circle. The blue circles represent the students who do English. So it's going to be any students that are within that circle would all count. So it'll be 5 as well as the 4. These 4 do history as well, but they also do English, so they still do count. So 4 and the 5, if we add them together, we get 9. So 9 students do English. Now, D, we want to know the students who do only history. So these students must not do English, they must only do history. So in the circle for history, the 4 people do history, but they also do English. So these are not the students that we want to count, but these 8 students, they are only within the circle of history. They don't overlap with English. So only the 8 students do history. Only 8 of them do history. Now, E, history and English. So if we want to know the number of students who do history and English, it would be the students who do both, which must be here, the 4 students. So you can see that the 4 students do history and English. Now if you have a look at the next one, it wants to know the number of people who don't do English, not English. So we don't want any one of those students to do English, so we kind of count all the students that's outside of that circle. So it shouldn't be 4 because those students do English. So it must be the other 2. 8 and the 3. So if we add the 8 and the 3 together, we'd get 11 students. 8 plus 3 is 11, isn't it? Now, what about history or English? History or English means they could do history, they could do both, or they could just do English, whatever. We want to know all of them, history or English. So this time we have to add all 3. 8 plus 4 plus 5, that would be equivalent to 17. So 17 would be the number of students who do history or English. Alright guys? Alright, let's move on to the next one. Question 2. We've got a very weird Venn diagram here. They don't overlap this time, so that must mean something, wouldn't it? Again, a group of students were asked for history or English. Again, it's the same kind of context, but let's try to answer the questions this time. Find the number of students of, firstly, all. Again, remember guys, all means all the numbers added together, so 6 plus 7 plus 2 would give us 15. Now B, just history. History is just these people within the history circle, so it's just only 7. Now English are the students that are in just this circle, which is 6. 6 people do English. And next, only history. Only history are the students who are not overlapped, but this one is very easy because there's no overlapping parts. So it's clearly just the 7. Only the 7 do history, yeah, and they don't do English because it's only those people in that circle. Now E, what about history or, history and English? Or and is totally different, isn't it? History and English. So the people who do both history and English. But as I said, guys, this one does not overlap. So no students do both. No students do both. So this one's 0. Now, what about not English? Not English are the students who are excluding the people in this circle. So if we add everything else, 7 and 2, it would give us 9. Now, another one, history or English. History or English means those who do history, those who do both, and those who do just English. All of them would be counting in history or English. So make sure you remember the word or. So it's just this 6 and 7 added together. 6 and 7 would add to 13. So 13 are the number of students who do history or English. Alright guys, let's move on. Question 3. Again, it's a very unique type of Venn diagram. But again, we'll see how we go. Again, it's the same context. We've got the history in English, and we want to know the number of students of all. So the total. We'll add 6 and the 9 and the 4 together. That would give you 19, wouldn't it? Now the next one is just history. People who do history. Now in this circle, all the students in the big circle, which represents history, would be the people who do history. Now these 6 English people, because they are also in the history circle, those people also do history. So 6 and the 9 together, which makes 15, do history. Now English. English are the students just in this English circle, which is just 6. So easy, 6. Now only history. Only history with the students that are in the history circle but are not included in the English, because we don't want these English students. We just want only history students, so it's just the 9. Now, history and English, which means the people who do both history and English. Now see this circle here, the circle for English? There's 6 people who do English, but because this circle is within the history circle, these people also do history. So the 6 people do both English and history, so it must be 6. Alright, not English. So the people who don't do English. So we have to count everyone outside this circle, which means it's the 9 people who do just history and the 4 people who don't do anything. So it's going to be 9 plus 4, which is 13. And history or English, which means people who do history, people who do both, or people who do just English. All of those are included in the category of history or English. So these are the students who do English. These are the students who do history. Together, they will make OR. So it's going to be 15. 6 plus 9, which is 15. Make sense, guys? So even if it's a weird looking Venn diagram, it's still very straightforward as long as you follow the logic. Alright, question 4. This time we're going to build our own Venn diagram. It says a group of 50 students were asked whether they choose physics or chemistry. Physics was 24 people, chemistry 28, and none 7. So these none mean people who don't want to do physics or chemistry. And we've got to construct our Venn diagram to represent these results. So I'm going to make out my little square or rectangle. We always put our Venn diagram inside here. And I'm going to put one for physics and one for chemistry. Now, if you can see, guys, the none, which is the 7, would go outside the circles, but still inside the box. But they don't belong to any of these 2 circles, so we put them outside. Now, we're going to add the 24 and the 28 together, because 24 plus 28, and because I've already put the 7, I'm not going to incorporate that. So 50 minus the 7 will give us 43. If I minus the 43 away from those, I actually get a leftover, which is 9. The reason why this is not that we have a leftover is because there are overlapping parts. Like as I've drawn on the Venn diagram, there's an overlapping part. So that part would represent 9. That part is satisfying for both physics and chemistry. That's why we have a leftover. So now that we've got that, we can figure out how much is this empty space here for physics, only physics. So if there's 24 students doing physics, and 9 of them do chemistry as well, then 24 minus the 9 would be 15. Those are the people who just do physics, okay, only physics. And look guys, 28 people do chemistry, but we know that out of 28, the 9 of them do also physics. So just to find the category for only chemistry, we'll do 28 minus the 9, which gives us 19. So that completes the Venn diagram. That's how you do it. But this part is also very important. This part is crucial for you to find the overlapping part, which is for both. Alright guys? Let's continue. Now, question 5, again, we want to find a Venn diagram. We want to draw our own Venn diagram. So it tells us a group of 50 students were asked whether they choose physics or chemistry. It's the same context, but we have different values this time. And this time, instead of telling us the number of people who don't do anything, they tell us the number of people who do both physics and chemistry. Alright, so that would help us a little bit. And again, we have to construct our Venn diagram. So I'm going to put my physics circle, and I'm also going to put my chemistry circle like I did in the previous question. Now it tells us that both are 8 people. 8 people do both physics and chemistry. It must be. You guys should be able to do this in the category where they overlap. Now, if I want to know the number of people who do physics and chemistry, we'll have to subtract the number of physics people subtract 8 from the number of physics people and subtract 8 from the number of chemistry people, right? First of all, I'm going to do physics. Physics is 22 students. If I minus away the 8, we get 14. So I put 14 into this part here. So 14 are the people who just do physics, not chemistry, just physics. Now, similarly to get chemistry, we'll do 25 minus 8, and that would give us 17. So 17 belongs to this category here, only doing chemistry. Now guys, if you add these up, 14, 8 and 17, we'll see what they would add up to. If I subtract 50, if I subtract those away from the 50, I actually get a remainder, which is 11. So these 11 people, they don't belong in anywhere. They actually belong outside the circle because those are the students who don't belong anywhere. They don't want to do physics or chemistry, so they are the odd ones out. Okay, but you can find that by subtracting away these values from the total. And if you do have a leftover, that means there are students who don't want to do any of those subjects. Alright guys, so outside the box. Outside the circle, sorry, but inside the box. Alright, another one. A group of 50 students, again, it's the same context. They're asked if they want to do physics or chemistry. Again, we have different numbers, and we want to construct our Venn diagram. Now, here's my little box. This time, guys, how about I start by adding, just to check, 24 plus 21 plus 5, what would that add up to, guys? That actually adds up to 50. So there's no leftovers, which means there are no one overlapping. There's no overlapping parts of chemistry and physics. There's no one who do both chemistry and physics, because that happens when these numbers add to exactly 50, the total number of students. So this time I'm going to draw physics like that, but I'm going to draw chemistry separately so they don't overlap, because we figured out that gives us a total of exactly 50, so there's no overlapping parts. So now we can say the people who don't do both, again, they just go outside the circle. I usually like to do that first, just to get it out of the way. And the physics people, 24, those 24 just belong to 24 in that circle. And the 21 just goes directly into this circle for chemistry. So 21 do just chemistry, 24 do just physics, and 5 don't do anything, and there's no one who does both physics or chemistry. So trying to get your head around that, guys, that's Venn diagrams.